Hi everyone, my name is Brailey. I'm the Open Education Librarian at the University of Alberta, located on Treaty 6 territory. I'm going to be sharing a little bit about our ZTC, or I guess ZTC if you're in the States, our program, as well as some of the outreach that we've done. So ZTC, this stands for Zero Textbook Cost. So this refers to courses which students are not required to purchase instructional materials, most commonly textbooks, and this of course could be open educational resources, it could be library resources or other open access material. What we're mainly concerned about is the cost savings for students. And our program was introduced in 2021 after a lot of initiative actually from the Students' Union. But this also placed us among some of the early adopters in Canada, which is exciting. So what our program looks like is primarily course level designation, which within the student registration system. So hopefully when students register for courses, they can then see that a course is ZTC or not and be able to make decisions about their courses. So how courses become part of the ZTC program is actually a manual self-reported registration process through registrar-led workflows. So our program is called Bear Tracks. So instructors register their courses and then it appears in the course registration system. The other way that a course can become ZTC is through, again, instructor-led reporting through bookstore reporting systems. So when instructors report that they do or do not have required course materials. I'll just highlight this part of the instructors are required to report their course materials for it to be appearing in the ZTC program. Of course, not all instructors report their course materials, so we're going to come back to this point a few times throughout the presentation. Currently, we have more than 30% of courses flagged as ZTC. This is approximately double the value at the outset of the initiative. There's also targets for ZTC in some of our institutional strategic planning. This is called the Student Experience Action Plan. So there is that institutional level support. So what I'll be talking about is some of the outreach that we did for our ZTC program, because as I mentioned, for a course to qualify as part of ZTC, instructors actually have to let us know that it's ZTC. And we really wanted to see if we could boost some of these numbers just through getting awareness building. So what we did was working with our team in library publishing, working with librarians across the system. We were able to organize 28 presentations, and these were delivered by unit heads within the library, librarians, and of course our library publishing team. There was also 2 presentations at our local Festival for Teaching and Learning, a conference. We distributed and made bookmarks highlighting ZTC. I'll just flip to the next slide so you can see those. These bookmarks were distributed to our bookstores, to our libraries, to our Students' Union. We walked around campus and put these in classrooms that were open, a lot of classrooms that were open, just to try to share more information. And the main point on these is there's the contact information as well as that QR codes to scan to go to the website. The Faculty of Science was able to send out promotion through the Dean's newsletter after discussions with one of our librarians. So it was really a team effort amongst the library staff. So I'll share some of the feedback because I feel like this could inform some of the practices that you might want to do at your institution. Overall, it was really positive and supportive feedback, which I was pleasantly surprised by. People seemed to really support and be excited about the initiative. There was a lot of interest in asking for statistics, specifically department level statistics. At the time, we were getting faculty level statistics from the registrar's office. So that specific department level statistics is really important should this be something that you want to consider. And departments were interested in it for using for promotion, for communications, for marketing, for sharing with incoming students. There was also the feeling of underrepresented stats. So they were excited to see the stats at the faculty level, but when we showed them, they often felt that, their department should, or faculty should have more ZTC courses based on what their understanding of what was being taught. And again, this brings us back to, I think, that registration process. And there was lots of discussion about the registration process. and the difficulty for instructors to access the registration process, and to simply have it part of their workflows as they're creating courses and they're very busy and potentially missing emails or not sure where to look for the registration information. The other thing that I think you should be prepared for if you want to have some of these discussions on your campus is questions about library purchasing of electronic textbooks and potentially some of the difficulties with that from the library's perspective. Of course, for a class to be ZTC, you would have to purchase an electronic textbook that would have enough access for everyone in the course to be able to access it. And there's, of course, difficulties for that from a library's perspective. But as an outcome from this, I did have a lot of follow-up from instructors asking for me to check on their textbook to see how the library can purchase copies of it. So it's something to be prepared for. I'm also going to share our next steps. These were created last summer, but I think a lot of them are still relevant to this day, and also could be relevant for you if you're considering kind of doing some of this work on your campus. So the next steps that we identified was first to work with the registrar office to refine the registration and data sharing process. So as I mentioned, the registration process and having that instructor-led registration process has been a difficulty for us. And you can see on the side of the screen, this is the infamous form that instructors fill out to designate their course as zero textbook cost. And that's the link on the library website where it exists. It is, I will mention, also sent around by the registrar's office every semester to every instructor. But of course, it would require someone to happen to notice that email and follow through with the steps at that time. There's also difficulties, of course, when emails are sent out versus when instructors actually know that they're teaching a course or know what their course materials will be. So lots of things to consider based on the timelines that your institution might have. The other thing that we considered was identifying new routes to reach faculty through this registration processes. So perhaps if there's a system on your campus that already exists that instructors are doing no matter what when they're creating courses, a way to embed that into that system would be really beneficial for you to consider. We also discussed promotion of open textbooks, including those that we're already creating through University of Alberta, just to create more initiative, to create more of excitement and interest about what's already going on. And finally, we partnered with the Students' Union to do something called the ZTC Cup. This was released by the Students' Union, where basically they were looking at the stats from the ZTC program, and they were, announcing the faculties with the highest ZTC, the faculties that are most improved at our General Faculties Council through the student newspaper, just again to get more interest and excitement coming on about this program. So that brings me to the end of my presentation. I hope that gives you a few things to consider for your institution. Should you have any questions, feel free to ask. My email is there on the screen. Thank you so much for your time.